Hello everyone, this is Mr. 13 Things coming at you as also Silence Did Good, or Papa, as we train on the calculator. Following up, I think this is the fourth of a series of things you can run at twice the speed, but I talk fast anyway regarding what you learn when you learn to run your calculator. Some of you in 7th grade, some of you unfortunately not until college or university. So when you're learning to run your calculator, you're learning a lot more than how to do math on your calculator. You're learning how to manage machines, and machines have states, and states are very often formed and stored in variables. So again, to review, the first thing you do when you pick up any machine, unless you really have had ownership for a long time with it, is to ask it some questions you know the answer to, and we typically use the tangent of 45. This then lets us know that, oh, our settings might not be right, so we go to mode here, and we play around. Today we're going to set it to degrees, and in a second here we're going to set the float up to 2 or 1, 2 decimal places, and leave it as it is. Second quit. We started talking last time about how things are stored then in variables. Either the standard variables, the ones you set, or the variables that are parts of these equations. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about now, is how then you can transfer these states by storing them using the program mode in here. And what you're going to do is we're just going to go through and store a few states in this program. So we're going to go to Program, and we're going to make a new program, and we're just going to, for now, realize now that when this flashes like that, it's assuming that alpha it's an alpha character input, so you just don't have to hit alpha each time. And so we're going to just call this for short term S1, S, and now we have to turn that off at S1. You've often got these kind of restrictions on what you can name programs. One thing you want to stick to and learn early is no spaces in your file names. In most any system, we tend to use understores. So we hit that, and now all you can do now is learn to store some things into states. So we can do like this. We're going to say, for instance, -10 is stored, and you notice when you see it comes up as that, it's forcing -10. This is weird for programming language. We're going to force -10, and now we go to Variables, to Window, Enter, and that's going to be our X minimum. That is now in that program, and now we're going to say 10, stow, variables, and it's unfortunate you have to do it this way, but you have to do it this way in this program unless you get on an emulator on your computer. And that's going to do that in Xmax. And we're going to go ahead and let's change the Y scale to 20. So in this case, we really don't want to get in this habit. We're going to go ahead and hit -20, right? -20, and stow it into. And these are variables that are kind of used for the graphing. And then 20, stow into variable. And once you get the rhythm on this on a calculator like this seems like it's a pain in the butt, because it kind of is. But you guys, y'all have been learning to run your cell phones, not realizing all the states that are happening with your cell phones, like what Wi-Fi are you on, and what is your password, and what is the light setting. So you're managing lots of states by default, and they're being managed for you. But this kind of idea of understanding what's going on is one thing we learn when we learn to run our calculator. And so we've got all those. We can kind of, in the end, we can now just, in this weird calculator, this is saving on the fly, so we hit a second quit. So that's in the program. So if we look right now and see that our window variable is -10, 10, let's just, the way we know how, we'll go from 3 to 6. And we're just kind of setting, now we're changing the states because that program has not been run. It's just stored. It hasn't been executed. So we're going to go from 69. And we'll see, we'll go with 96, and those are all set. So if we go ahead and do some sort of graph here, who knows what it's going to do. But if we now go to Program and then execute that one, now when we do graph, you can see it set it to where it wants to be. So there is a reasonable case to be made for saving states in your calculator on your physical calculator, or so you can go ahead and do all kinds of things. And a lot of those states, we're going to go back to the program there, are not just the ones I just showed you. So the important ones are the ones you would check in your mode. So if we're going to now go to edit, we're going to edit that. We're going to go down to the bottom here. And we can then say, I don't know, 0, stow, and now we can go and grab a lot of variables. So we can go second category, and we're going to go with maybe radians. Let's see if that state, what that variable is stored at. We're going to go down, and at this point we can do alpha r QRS, and you have to do it twice. I don't know why. Okay, radian. So now I think what reality is, you just need to set that to radian. So this is not going to 0, but we're going to see what happens. Second quit. And now when we do program, there it should give us an error, and it should then show us where that error is. And the reality is we don't really need to do that. All you do is just basically set that to radians. So I'm going to say second quit. Go ahead and change our state outside the program by going to mode and setting it degree, which it is, second quit. And now when we go to program S1, run that through, and we look at our state, you can see it's been set to radian. So this is the 4th or the 5th, and what you're learning to do when you run your calculator, it's a lot more than math. It's about setting states, which in fact is math, and those states are stored in variables, and a list of instructions are then stored in a program. So what we did in this case is we wrote a program, and that's what that would be. That set, which works, is executing right now, but if we look at that program again and we go into edit, we have set this program to change the state of the xmin, the xmax, the ymin, the ymax, and the radian variable, though through different syntaxes, so that our calculator will perform the way we want it to. And of course, the way we want it to would be ask it a question we know the answer to, and of course one of our favorites, which would probably be I don't know, the cosine of pi, right? In this case, it's 180 degrees. It would be -1. Oh, there it is. It came up correct. We ask it a question. So when we, on a regular basis, to get what we call a warm fuzzy in science, engineering, and math, we periodically go back and ask things a question we know the answer to, especially if it gives us an answer in the middle of our calculations that goes against our intuition. And that's another thing you're learning to do as you go through and learn whatever they call 21st century skill. I don't know, let's call them 3rd century skill, is to trust sometimes, build and trust your intuition, but check it through a set of redundant mechanisms. And what you saw here is having a set of mechanisms stored or settings stored in a machine, or even a way to go back to those settings, is going to give you more trust in that machine. On a high-end car, that might be where the seat and the mirror and the temperature settings are made. But on a calculator, it's a series of state variables. Thanks for listening.